Hello, my name is Enis, and on this channel I will be presenting you with different ideas about lifestyle, current topics, and anything that might be of interest to someone that likes to think outside the box. In this first video, I will try to give out arguments and also my personal views on the topic of can the government be ran as a business. Lately, there has been a lot of discussion if government should or could be ran as a business. Before we go into that, I would like to try to define both entities so we know what we are dealing with. Business in a democracy is usually a privately owned structure ran by one or multiple persons with a primary goal of profit and growth. There are, however, instances of government-owned businesses such as post office, some bigger banks, or IRS, but they're also ran with profit in mind while serving the general public. We also have charities and non-profits, but we will not be concentrating on them this time. For the record, I have to mention that not everywhere a majority of businesses are privately owned. Not that long ago in communist countries and in other regimes that are so-called autocracies, most companies were owned by the state, and these were ran indeed almost like a government. This is not entirely a thing of past because some countries are still operating this way. If you think of China, think again. Nowadays their big players are owned by oligarchs who are tightly connected to the government, and it is hard to determine who is in charge. Speaking of oligarchs, many other countries have them, including Russia, Saudi Arabia, and some would say even USA. Now, what is a government? In short, it is a body that regulates the state or a region while collecting the taxes in various ways, which are used to cover the costs of its expenses. The people who are employed in the government are usually elected or hired, but they're held to higher standards either way than a person hired by a company that has an owner. Therefore, the people who work in government are referred to as public servants. These two are key factors that differentiate a business employee versus a government employee. The first is paid to do a certain job while following the employer's rules, which differ from company to company, with money that came from profit. That being said, the goal of the employee's work is to make more money for the company and to help it grow. The latter is paid by money that came from you and me or general public. This makes that person or the structure in general to be held to higher standards and to answer if needed to general public, not just its boss. Regular employees, on the other hand, answer only to their management. When a high official is to be hired in a government, such as a commissioner or a sheriff or a governor or a congressman, elections are held and most citizens of legal age are qualified to vote to elect a person who they think will be fit to represent them and their views, social, political, religious, etc. With all this being said, it becomes clearer that we have entirely different forces running these bodies and different goals as well. Let's say that things change and government suddenly becomes a for-profit organization in a way that businesses function. In this case, one question comes to mind to everyone: who will take the profits? Remember when we mentioned how communist regimes ran companies as governments? Not a pretty picture. It led the door open for corruption and all kinds of foul play. Hopefully we can talk about this phenomena in one of next episodes. Let's say that profits are being held for emergency funds or to pay out government debt, so that issue is resolved. How will the election process be held if the rulers of the country are profit-driven and not greater good-driven? How will the elected persons act once in office, and what will be their motivation? To act in best interest of the nation and general public, or to accumulate more and more money? What about international relations? Keep in mind, please, that most government structures have so far failed. Monarchies, aristocracies, autocracies are deemed to fail every time. Communism is almost gone. Will democracies and republics stay forever? Probably not, because no political system is perfect. Also, keep in mind that all empires have so far fallen. If America wants to stay the most powerful country in the world, it needs to have as many friends as possible. If USA is run like a business, will other governments be seen as a competition or as friends versus foes? Now, let's talk about something else. How much is the total US government revenue? It is estimated that in year 2018, the total US government revenue will be 6.23 trillion. A half of that is through taxes. So, if the US government was a business, or ran as a business to put it correctly, but what's the difference really? If the US government was a business, it would be by far a business or government ran as a business with the biggest revenue in the world. For example, Walmart with its 2.3 million employees and with the most revenue in the world since 2014 of $500 billion would be right behind it. I'm not saying that the government or the president or anyone else would have access to this money, I hope not, or that they would somehow enrich themselves, but one has to wonder if it would be a smart move to let someone with only legislative experience manage a biggest business in the world. All of this is if and but, and I'm only trying to look at it from a different perspective. The government has been tried to run like a business before, and the idea failed every time. Maybe there's a better way now. With all the technology available and past experiences, who knows? There might be a way to at least cut down on some costs and replace thousands of bureaucrats, or at least branch out some of its functions to private business. But to switch to a business model completely, what do you think? Please leave a comment and your opinion in the comment section below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, please forgive me, this is my first video, and hopefully